the coming months. So let's begin this evening of poetry. Here is Mr. Lawrence Ypil.
Hi everyone. Kadungog mo? Yeah.
Hello.
Before we start, Home is a Fable. Siguro word of thanks lang. Wanted to thank Joseph for being very game for hosting this event. This was planned in a matter of 3 days, 4 days. I was like, Joseph, are you game for a reading? And texting Nikay and like, Nikay, are you game for a reading? And it all seemed like the perfect time for a reading, the place, and we're both here at this time. We'd also like to thank Eric Tuban, who isn't here yet. He was the one who made the poster that you see outside the door and you might have seen in the Facebook invites. We also want to thank Jessica McYorker, who you will hear play the piano later on tonight. Thank you also for being very game, as of yesterday, agreeing to join us in this event. I'll just read something I wrote early this morning. No? Tonight's poetry reading has two major reasons. One of them is selfish, the other is not. The not too selfish reason is that I've always dreamt of attending a regular monthly poetry reading in a bookstore here in Cebu. Unlike Joseph, I wasn't able to attend the pitcher plant readings. I did hear of the pitcher plant, but I didn't ever get to attend any of them. And growing up in this city, wanting to write, wanting to be a writer, I often fantasized about the possibility of going to a bookstore here in Cebu, listening to someone read some poems, and meeting other people who are interested in books and reading. Readers are one of the best kinds of people I know. They harbor the strangest ideas. They have the most wonderful fantasies. They're insanely romantic. And sometimes they have the most awkward fashion sense. Readers are often accused of being snobs, but they're really just shy. They are natural escapists. They can't help it. After reading a book about hobbits or fairies or damsels in distress, how does one even begin to return to the real world? I've always wondered what it would be like to put some readers in one room. And I hope that's what we actually have today, a bunch of readers in one room with wine and food. The selfish reason for this event is that I'm a huge fan of Nikay Paredes. I don't remember when I first met Nikay in a workshop or in a campus in Manila, but what I will always remember is the kind of mischief that informs her work. Pashay-shy ni si Nikay, but there's a sharp, sly playfulness in her mind and in her poems. They remind me of that moment in play when fun suddenly turns serious, where in a game of catch, someone trips and falls and bleeds flowers, where in a game of hide and seek, someone forgets to be found, where there is laughter, but there's also snickers and silences. I so selfishly want to hear her new poems, and I figured the only way to get her to read them out loud would be to do a reading with her. Nikay is now on her final semester in the MFA Poetry program at the prestigious Sarah Lawrence College. Did I get that right? Okay. I have no idea what she's going to read, but I can't wait to hear her. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Larry, for that awesome introduction. So when Larry and I thought a title for this reading series, he asked me the title of my thesis, and honestly I don't have one yet, but I do have a poem in mind called Fabulations, and I told him like it's probably going to be Fabulations and other poems, and he was like, okay, game, Home is a Fable, and we're going to read poems about home. So that was the title, and I'm going to start with a couple of poems One's a kind of a creation, and one's a kind of a prayer. And I say kind of because these are poems. This poem is a mouth. When I sing of gaslit lamps, dry anise over kindling husks, idioms birthed on 7,000 islands, I am fleshing out an archipelago for you. I am reciting creation from memory, how the first man and woman hollowed from a single stalk of bamboo. When I place you between my lips, you will sing of how coconuts remind you of the nipples of a woman. Your voice will intimate a vine and scale a city glossed in rain. I ripen and you settle into song. Oremus. To cease, to leave one's fork by a still warm plate, to kneel before an image of the Sacred Heart flanked by 2 electric candles, to point out the unlit bulb, to desist, to begin prayer, to deny the vernacular or speak in a colonial tongue, to call the strange more potent than himaya sa Amahan, ug sa Anak, ug sa Espiritu Santo, to be aware of one's knees or hunger for rice cakes and milk, to send off the dead towards some light, to let one's face crave and amber by this light. So we're gonna switch things up a bit. I'm gonna read a persona poem. A persona poem is when a dramatic character distinguished from the poet is the speaker of a poem. So the persona I chose to use for this poem is Manny Pacquiao. I'm a big boxing fan, and yeah, that's like home. Like home is like watching boxing when there's a match wherever you are in the world, you know. And I remember watching a post-fight interview with Manny. He was all bruised up and like, Manny, how did you like win this one? Not the last one, but he was like, oh yeah, I deserve all my sacrifices. And then I was like, wow, that's really profound. Like, I deserve all my like, wow. So, and like he says some gems, though he's a bit quirky. So this one's called Hurt Business. Boxing is, you know, hitting each other. We do amidst a couple of rounds, and I like land up the middle and uppercut. Only fighter who can out Rocky, can hit and I'm not hurt, can do mitts, but I don't want to disappoint. Stay my feet on the ground, so I think. Never cut the hair before the fight. Like feel I'm weak, like pray before, then sing after. That's the only me. Sarangani, southpaw, rose, and a green snake, meteor, and a left hook, you know. So another home poem. I remember going on a road trip somewhere in the States and went camping, and it was 4 days since I had eaten rice. This is a problem. I just had potatoes for 4 days. So yeah, that's like part 1 of the story behind this poem, and part 2 is my favorite movie is Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa, and there's this one scene where this old guy loses like a basket of rice. Someone steals it, and he's just like there on the ground picking every morsel. And I remember just like watching that scene, just like crying. You know, like it's not an emotional scene at all, but you know, like you know how our relationship with rice, you know. So this one's called Staple. It was mostly cinematic. The starved farmer, sick of millet, toothless, old, picking hard morsels off a barn floor. but it felt real, like a black leather belt wound over a fist. It was my father's way of saying, "You already know why I am doing this to you." And still I am learning. I have salvaged even the scraps, mastered how to swallow with a full stomach. Even before that, applied enough weight over every boiling pot that I need another person to heave open the lid. I had always thought myself hardened, so that when I saw again those villagers anguish on their own dry land, I would feel nothing. I would remember it was a movie not even set in color. As a child, I used to watch my grandmother sift unmilled grains. Each hull contained a fragrant sigh. Earth she plucked from raw white rice. Oh, and let's have some fun again. So I still use my old Yahoo account, the one I have since high school, and it's a Yahoo Philippines account. So all the ads in that account are of Filipino products, and I saw one for a lactacid white intimate feminine wash. And living in the States, it's crazy how people want to be tan, but then back home people want to be like, you know, fair or even like pasty white, and I have a problem with that. So I was like, I should make a poem about this. Like, this is making me angry. Like, this shouldn't be the case. So this one's called Lactacid White Infinite Feminine Wash. Rooms full of focus groups concur. Too tight clothing darkens skin around the intimate area. What brouhaha. I'll take before and after shots of my hoo-ha. Answer the message board query. Can I use it for my face too? My dear lack of white, lugubrious split, ignore them. Desert their allergenic formulae, their thumb-sized art. Oh my dark, engulf them. Another thing I read up online about home, that very like controversial article on Nat Geo about the icon, the ivory, the return into religious icons. This is a small poem about that. Ivory worship. We grip the chisel, cut tusk, effigies by the ton. We pare the flesh, make naked again our boy gods. The shavings lie among our feet. 100 dry gospels unscroll. And this is the last poem of the set. This isn't really new, but it's fun to read, and so thanks for listening. This one's called Not Quite a Hustle About Cicadas. That month I wore short skirts and it was summertime and sticky, and I was walking to school with a friend, hearing nothing but cicadas, and I said to her I would love to have a cicada sing on my palm, and suddenly a boy on a bike careened past us, lifted up my short skirt, and never mind the cicadas, it was the boy on the bicycle with the gray eyes and the silence that wheeled me in after, a cosmic palpable silence. And before I could ask my friend if she saw the boy with the bicycle and the gray eyes, that mirage of a boy for whom the cicada stopped, and my friend turned to me and asked, "What boy?" But I was certain, and I knew I felt something slip underneath my skirt. I just knew, and my friend and I continued to walk as summer sweltered into song, and I knew there'd be other summers, other boys mounting bicycles, and Nikay, there will be other summers, other boys mounting bicycles, and... Thank you. I feel bad because I didn't prepare because I really wanted to wing it for Larry's intro. But I do remember how I first met Larry. It was around a workshop in Manila, and one of my high school teachers in SDC, Arlene Obaniata, she was like, you should like look for a guy named Larry Ypil. He's Cebuano and he's a poet. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And then that's where I met you. And so yeah, Larry's like a really important figure in like how I continued to be a poet. He was my thesis advisor in college. I remember him going through my poems, and even now he's in Iowa pursuing his MFA in nonfiction. We still send each other stuff, and yeah. Well, you all know Larry's work, and if you don't know his work, like his book is just over there. So yeah, Larry Ypil.
I'm reading some new poems that I've been writing for the past 2 years. I've always been writing about Cebu. I'm obsessed with Cebu, even if I'm not here most of the time. And I think I'm obsessed because I'm not here all the time. So all these poems are about Cebu. They're also all not about Cebu. Many of them are about my family. So they are all about my family, but they're also not about my family. This one's called Night Report. Dear, life is difficult. We are not allowed to talk. After all, the rain falls. The sea yields its fish. We ourselves fall, yield, and the neighbors say, to talk about money is thought to have it. I have no money, having just spent it. T-bone steaks are expensive. Foreign flowers wilt, especially the iris. My mom calls long distance with her loneliness like copper wire and wishes I come home, but won't. The storm does. The storefront vegetables, maids brace. Somewhere else, a free shirt presses against itself. Figurine. Side by side at table, we agree. The chicken could be better. The neighbors bring the trash out when the wind blows east. My mother, thinking silence in her sons could mean disaster, lets the night birds in. We draw the curtains. They form a chandelier of song, a glimmer of a brother in the mirror, and my glass, he says, wink, wink, I met a pretty girl today, and she was formidable. If only father were to tell the joke about the lettuce, we would laugh, mutter, munch, swing our legs under the table, invent 4 facts. This one's a childhood poem, and I'll leave it at that. It's called Seeing. I had a wand of wishes when I was 5. You want a tail? I could make 2. And teacups too, but not the tea. Betamax desire, I had a dress you couldn't see. Technicolor, ruby slippered. There's no place like a mother's mirror. You want a daughter? It's a broom without a head. The dull sink sparkles with a wave and some detergent. Silver screen falsetto. Antenna. I could make you disappear behind a backward dance. Rewind. So close your eyes and swish. Every wish deserved its mensch. Meaning its man, the neighbor, entering the house in afternoons to watch the wigless witch's legs go shimmer. I think this one is on TV. I'm not very sure. The hour is a dirty pocket. Inside it is a jacket. A blood-stained who? Who shot the man? Who grabbed the bag? Who left the bomb under the car and ran away? We know him dearly, but won't say. All we say is, let me see the TV with its flip squeeze and spin a win. The numbers glitter. The wheels turn the car in place beside the market basket. The winner sits on stage for the cellophane treatment, awe and light. The loser gets airtime, thank you, before he swept into the money run, a dance, canned laughter for the man and for his sons, commercials. Toothpaste gets stuck in the hands. Dear everyone. Two more points. This one is called bourgeois pornography. Then it was too late to figure out the face. I was young and woke up in the morning, and by the time I got to the door, afternoon. The gardener had left the water running towards the vegetation. He mowed the grass, and I watched him. The blinds were half drawn. Later on, I was out often, and never home. And whatever I brought back did not change the news, our dispositions. The rubber lip of the hose was still pressed against the lawn. I drew figures on the ceiling, a window view, and stayed up all night thinking about the rust that gathered on the screws of garden cutters, the buried carcass of that dog. I paid too much attention. Finally, this is called His Special Fate. I'll read this one instead, because, sorry, this other poem has the word Cebu in it, and I want to say it. It's called Detach Along the Horizon. In the fray, near the end, in the process of revision, a basket was opened, and there was the fruit. Have you been to Cebu? A visitor was the best excuse, because you will love it. Bring on the beach and the bolognese, the Tupperware sweat, and the sons who are such picky eaters, it takes a conference to make them take the yolk out of an egg. The canned good. A table, a napkin, laundered, folded, spoon beside the fork. The motion of the meal mimicked the bed, tuck, slip into the best sleeve, itch way of sitting, way of saying without speaking, tease, lip, lick without the mouth hurting. Thank you. So we'll have a short intermission. Jessica McCarker will be playing for us some songs. After that, we will be opening the floor to, if you have any questions, Nikay and I would gladly, nothing personal, hopefully, or private, but we'd be glad to answer any of them, and then we have a last set of poems. Let's give it a hand for Jessica McCarker.